it was still paused. He was still on the ground. Medics were still there, looking at him. And after the fact, we found out what happened with the ref and everything. And it just seems like it just kind of seems unfair. From what I heard, it wasn't matched appropriately. No.
Oh.
This poor kid.
They were matched appropriately.
Well, the kid's laying on the ground, and then didn't he continue?
Yeah, that's
to
the
get
part.
hit?
Yeah,
That's
the part.
not okay.
Yeah,
right. But that was
a mistake by the referee not noticing the situation as it was.
Right.
So what happened with the ref? What did happen with that?
Well, it was a mistake, and he
I heard that he was walking his car.
Yeah, we walked in his car.
Okay.
No hard feelings, or we wouldn't have taken him.
Let's be clear about this ref and walking to the car, because we love. If Dan didn't have his son and his son's daughter there, I think Dan could have walked himself to the car because he's one bad dude.
Okay.
We all know that, but so I'll just throw that out there for Dan because I know that
if Dan's been a martial artist all his life.
Yeah.
He's a good martial artist.
I'd have Dan walk me to the car.
Yeah, I'd have Dan walk me to the car.
Excuse my ignorance because
honestly,
I've never met Dan, but this is just from what I've heard from
everyone. It was a pretty move regardless.
Yeah, he had his boy and his boy's girlfriend with him. And
and
I like what Jay said. Let's go out the front.
Yeah, I'm not used to going out the back way. That was uncomfortable.
All right, we better get on to the second fight of the night.
I hate to end my night by celebrating at the St. Louis Bridgeton Police Station.
Yeah.
If I go out the back, I get to go party in Granite.
So is he okay?
Well said. Yeah.
The fighter. He's okay.
Yeah, he was back that night.
Yeah, he was back at the show about an hour later.
Yeah.
That's great.
No problem.
Second
fight. Oh, sorry.
Actually fought in the second to last match.
I've been to shows like that.
Yeah, I know. Put on a mask, luchador or something.
The second fight of the night at 155 pounds, Chris Duffy won by judges' unanimous decision over a very game Francisco Cabillos.
Yes, and Francisco filled in on days' notice, and that kid brought it. I mean, he really did. It was
he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad at all.
Well, how many people take a full suplex and turn around and just keep that fight coming? I mean, that was higher level for me, as far as effort goes.
Well, in all fairness, Duffy showed that he did have a pretty extensive wrestling background with that suit because he landed him just the way you're supposed to in competition, which means you don't injure anybody. If he didn't know how to really throw one, that would have been in Francisco's night. Yeah.
Right.
So this was Tremaine's guy?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but it was a good fight.
That was a good match. It was a good match.
It even became a war of attrition on who had the better cardio there towards the end.
Yeah, it did. It looked like they were. Neither guy was going to make it to the end.
Either guy would have loved to have another long.
Hello, welcome to the Ground Pound Show.
You ever play any music?
No, we got a talk radio show going here. Have a good night. Sorry about that, guy. Okay.
What kind of music you want? I should have told him yes.
I will sing.
You know what? Just hang on. About 15
sing?
minutes, we'll play what you want.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear? Should ask them anything.
That's funny. The third fight of the night, fighting for Team Salufa, was Brian Kelly. He won the heavyweight Muay Thai match by judges' unanimous decision over Champions Gym's Gerald Rios.
Yeah, it was a super heavyweight match.
Super heavyweight.
And Brian's fought him before, and he just cannot knock him out. Gerald's like what Tank Abbott used to be. You can just beat him, forever, and he's not going anywhere. I know Gerald had kind of rededicated himself, and he's just one of those guys that isn't ever going to look like he's athletically gifted. He's just not built that way. But he had dropped about 25 pounds for that fight, and had fought at the heavier weight before. He's just one of those guys. But they went, 4 hard rounds, and it was a good fight.
Did anybody notice how that fight started? First round as they touched gloves?
Oh, yeah, he cheated. He kicked the guy.
Brian Kelly, Gerald Rios went in to touch gloves with him, and Brian kicked him in the head.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a cheap shot.
Yeah. And I'm calling it out because it is what it is.
Unsportsmanlike.
Very
I didn't see that part, yeah.
You know what? But I will give Brian this. Throughout the rest of the match, he was a total sportsman. Telling him good job, and and he was. And I was just like,
A lot of people don't think that that's a cheap shot. I think
Well,
it is.
maybe he was making up for it
Maybe
and
he
realized that
realized.
he was over anxious and took the shot.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
he planned
probably
this.
made up
It
for
was
This
too out
was a
there.
plan.
I mean, because the guy's like this
He
and got
touched,
kicked in the
yeah,
head.
he went on, just relaxed, but you gotta protect yourself at all times.
Yeah,
First
absolutely.
rule of fighting.
First rule of fighting, protect yourself at all
Right.
times.
Absolutely.
Well, I know his coach.
And what you just said is, you're not ready.
No,
The first 10
that's
seconds of the fight are the most, intense, because you are a little relaxed, you're not ready yet. You don't get a second chance if the guy knocks you silly. You hate to be the fastest knockout of the night. At least last the first minute.
The fourth fight of the night at 165 pounds, independent fighter John Hansen beat Jason Kelts in the first round due to referee stoppage.
Actually, it was the other way around. Jason Kelts beat Jason Hansen.
Beat Jason Hansen, I'm sorry, I had
That's
some bad
okay.
notes on that one. Okay, we got to get that right. Tell us how that went.
Yeah, Jason Kelts is out of the boxing gym.
My apologies to Jason.
Trains with Dan Schaefer Cutter, and it was his first fight. And Mr. Hansen, that was his first fight. He's since moved to a gym he had started training with, but he was still labeled as an independent that night. Jason's got a lot better ground game. Jason Kelts looked a little more skilled. Hansen had a lot of guts, but he needs, he'll do better with a full-time trainer. He's a big, tall, lanky kid, and he just looked a little bit rough, and Jason's skills were better, and it prevailed for him. But it was a good fight. I mean, they both showed heart, just one had a better skill set.
In the fifth fight of the night, at 155 pounds, Adam Flowers defeated Mike Courtney due to tap out from leg kicks in the first round.
Yeah, they called it TKO, I think. But,
I don't know, when somebody says stop the fight, I consider that kind of...
yeah, when you can't continue, they call it the technical
TKO.
knockout.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can't continue. And I think it was 38 seconds or so, and Adam looked a little disappointed. Mike was in here last week, but I know Mike came to fight.
Good
I
kid.
think.
Oh, he's a good kid.
I think he went.
Catch him just right with the kick.
He went to do a leg check. He went to check the kick and brought his knee up real high to check it. Adam's kick was aimed towards the thigh, but Mike checked real high with his knee, and it caught him right on the knee. And
Shit hurts.
I'll say, well, a couple, there's always somebody in Rome that said, oh, he didn't kick him in the knee at all, and the doctor said he was fine, but the kid,
Let's go ahead and take this call.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Ground and Pound Show.
Yes, this is Josh S.
Hey, Josh, how's it going?
Hey, I was calling because I was just listening to the radio show.
Go ahead.
And I was just wondering why they were talking about how I did this several times in my fights. I've only had one fight before. And I have the video also, and if you watch it clearly and slow it down, you can see that I was throwing the knee first, and then he went and they threw his head down and hit my knee with his head.
Well, that's not the way it looks to me, man.
I mean, is it possible you guys got separate angles on the tapes? I don't
No,
know.
that is possible. Seriously, I looked at the one that the kid did that was video in the show right above him.
Yeah.
So if it's from a different angle, it may look different. Seriously.
And Josh, we've had you out on the show before. We like you. There's nothing personal there, so please
not
don't
at all,
take it
man.
that way.
Hey, your job as a fighter is to fight.
I thought it
your
was
job.
just one of those things that happened there. His head came down closer to your knee.
Jay
and he ran
overheard,
it.
and Jay told me he overheard you earlier. You thought it was a shot to his chest, not his head. So, that's all legit, man.
And nobody blamed you there before. You have a tendency to throw knees. That just means that you throw knees. Some fighters never throw knees at all.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. That's part of your skill set.
It worked. It was very Josh, you timed it right, you did everything. It just hit him in the head and not in the chest, which would have been equally almost as effective, I think. Because you did a good, it was a good knee.
When they said you've done it several times, it means that you throw knees. They knew they were coming because you do throw knees, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I thought they meant throwing knees to the head several times.
Well, I mean, in some places you're allowed to throw knees to the head, even an amateur, but, this night you're not. Steve and I talked about it. It's real important to, in the pre-fight, what do they call it?
Oh, in the rules meeting.
In the rules meeting to, to be
It
very
really
attentive
depends on who
to
the
what is
sanctioning
said.
body is. This was a kick show, and at a kick show, it doesn't even matter what state you're in. They don't allow amateurs to do knees to the head. But then if you do, if you do IFC, for instance, they'll let you knee to the head as amateurs.
Because you got to be willing to take them to the head, too.
So will ISCF. I mean, it just depends on really, because we travel all over the place in the Midwest. And I mean, we've gotten to the point where when it's rules meeting time, I just sit there like a zombie and I focus on what they're saying because the rule set changes from show to show, from state to state, from week to week. It's crazy. So you gotta, you know.
Well, Josh, I know you're a game guy, and I know Dustin's real game, so maybe you guys can get it on again and get it done right this time.
Yeah, I think probably in the future we ought to try to do that somewhere, just till both guys get a chance to slug it out. And I think it really was set up to be a good fight. It just had to get into